Champions Cup Saturday games. I will try and keep this quick because that's a whole lot of games. The sun's setting and my voice is still not quite 100%. But damn, that's a lot of games, man. These three games are on at the same time. These three are on at the same time. These two are on at the same time. How are you supposed to watch all these games, man? 3 games at 2 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand on a Sunday. Anyway, I guess they don't want you to watch all the games because so many on at the same time. Anyway, if you're wondering what those numbers next to the team means, that is wins, draws, and losses. So most of the matchups are the winners or the losers, but there's the odd kind of split. But yeah, we'll see through. I'm going to keep this, as I said, as quick as I can. The first game between Toulouse and Connacht should be Toulouse on paper because Connacht have got a whole lot of injuries. They've still made a few changes, although they have got some guys back as well. But Toulouse, it's a very strong looking lineup, and they are being backed fairly heavily at home. Both teams got wins last week. Toulouse are top of the pool. It's pool number 5. They beat Gloucester away 25-20 in a game which was... It's not one that's going to go down in the history books, but it was still a solid away win for Toulouse. Connacht with their win, it was over Montpellier. It was close. So in terms of the need for that win, that was a big win for Connacht with all the injuries, and for that Montpellier side, which was full of big names coming in. So you wouldn't begrudge Connacht a loss here if they did get one because it's all up against them anyway. There's no Aki for them for this one. Healy's coming at 15. Goblin moves to the right wing. Tom Farrell's in at 13. McCabe comes in at loose head. Hefferman moves up from the bench into hooker. Rue is back at the second row. Masterson moves up from the bench. So there's a fair few changes to the side, I guess, trying to keep things relatively fresh. You got to remember that Connacht played on the Sunday. Toulouse played on the Friday. So there's a whole lot more rest in that Toulouse camp as well, aside from the home advantage. They've kept things relatively stable. Have Toulouse, still Ramos, Huget, and Medad outside backs, and Tamak had moved into to 10 from 12. Movakas gets a start, Gray gets a start, and Talzan gets a start. But for the most part, it's the same team that played last week. There's a few changes on the bench as well. Well, good luck on it. It looks like on paper they will need it. 2 a.m. odds of me watching that one, pretty low, but I will definitely catch up on the highlights. Interesting that the algorithm has got Toulouse only by 7, whereas the bookies have got Toulouse by 22, which is again maybe taking into account all those injuries, the likes of Aki not playing. I don't know. Either way, it seems like it's going to be a tough job, but it looked like it was a tough job last week, and Connacht still managed to get the job done. So never write anybody off. Just on paper, it seems tough. That's why we don't play on paper. Next one, Benetton against Northampton. This one is a loser from last week up against one of the more impressive winners. So Benetton are 4th in their pool. This is pool number 1. They lost away to Leinster 33 points to 19, but you won't begrudge them that loss. They went out and threw the ball around. They went for 4 tries. They didn't quite get it. But they had a crack. They played entertaining rugby against the favourites for this competition and got beaten. Not a hiding, but comfortably beaten, so I still give them credit for that game. For Northampton, they were impressive. They beat Lyon 25-14 at home. Lyon doing pretty well in top 14, but again, top 14's had none of the big guns back at the World Cup, so maybe that was a kind of false indicator of where they were at, because Northampton dealt to them pretty comfortably from what I remember of last week's game. So I guess we'll see how they go over in Italy, because it's always tough to travel away from home in Europe. So Benetton's made a few changes. Benvenuti's come in at number 12. Monte Ioane has come in at 11. Tommaso Allen gets a start. He was on the bench last week. Zandi gets a start. Loosehead, he was again on the bench. Rutzer comes back in the second row, so that's good news. A few other changes as well for for Northampton. Again, they've also made a few changes. Proctor comes in at 13. Hutchison has moved in from 13 to the 12 jersey. Tuala's at fullback. Van Fake gets a start. Franks gets a start. Ratuna Yarawa gets a start. So Gibson gets a start. There's, I guess a bit of rotation going on by Chris Boyd's guys to keep everybody fresh. So this one is also predicted to be not that lopsided, which is a good thing for in terms of the entertainment value if it is close. The rugby forecast has got Northampton by 1. The bookies have got Northampton by 2. In their predictions there, I guess it's mainly the fact that it's away and that, they played Leinster, so they did alright, did Benetton. I guess we'll see how things crack on for that one. The next one, also at 2 o'clock in the morning. All these I'm definitely just watching highlights, but Saracens up against Ospreys, both losers from last week's games. Saracens played a less than full strength lineup and went away to Paris and lost to Racing 92. That was 30 points to 10, so it was a pretty one-sided game, to be fair. And Ospreys, it was a real arm wrestle against Munster, but they still lost that one, 32 points to 13. I don't think that scoreline quite gave credit to how much effort Ospreys put in that game, but I think still maybe Munster deserved the bonus point from, again, what I can remember of the game. I remember it was kind of a game of two halves, but Munster's defence was able to hold Ospreys out for large periods. Anyway, it's always going to be interesting to watch Saracens, how they pick the team for the Champions Cup this year, with them having accepted that deduction of points in the Premiership, which will surely be their focus. So you thought maybe they'll just bring out a second string team here, but not quite, because you got Daly back at fullback. Barrett's in there at 12. Cruz is playing. Mako Vunipola's playing. So, there's a few of those big England names in the squad. A few of the guys move around. Skelton's still there. Whiteley's getting a start at the number 9. Manu Vunipola still gets the number 10 jersey. Again, it's not full strength, but it's probably a stronger team on paper than last week's Saracens side. For Ospreys, Watkins playing 13. Kieran Williams moves up from the bench to play 12. Davis is at 9. Smith is up from the bench to play at loose head. Otherwise, the squad, James Hook's playing at 10. The squad's fairly stable from last week's one. A few changes, but it's going to be a tough job for them going to play Saracens away. Will it be for Ospreys? So them and Benetton are the teams picked to kind of do nothing in this competition, but I feel like, again, they did better than what they'll kind of get credit for in that game last week. So it's going to be tough. We'll see what kind of effort these guys can put in. It's on paper pretty lopsided. Saracens by 21 is what the Rugby Forecast algorithm has, and the bookies have got Saracens by 27. Again, I'm not sure how much of that is people betting on them without knowing, Farrell isn't playing, and, Billy V and all these other guys who aren't in the squad. So, not sure. Anyway, the next one looks to be a absolute cracker on paper. Exeter against Glasgow. Two of the winners from last week. Exeter were pretty comfortable over La Rochelle, to be fair. One of the more impressive teams in the Champions Cup first round. So they are first in their pool. 31-12 was the job they did over in France last week. So, as I said, pretty impressive. Glasgow, it was a win. But 13-7 over Sale, it was kind of the other end of the scale. It was more of a, as I said before, a bit of an arm wrestle game more than that kind of comfortable blowout. So it's going to be a tough one for Glasgow to travel away to Sandy Park. So I guess we will see. We'll see how it goes. Looking at the squads, Hogg is there at 15. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes up against his former team. There's always a bit of interest, I guess, when the old teammates meet up. Noel's up from the bench. He plays 14. O'Flaherty moves to the left wing to accommodate Noel on the right wing. Other than that, the team is settled from last week. So I guess that can show the focus that that Exeter have got on the Champions Cup this year. Cuthbert doesn't make the 23. For Glasgow, again, it's also a pretty stable squad. I think the only one is that Gibbons is out on the open side because he's got a shoulder injury. So yeah, that's what kind of makes this game extra spicy, is that both these coaches, I mean, Dave Rennie is leaving at the end of the season, so there's extra incentive for him to want to get it done. But yeah, on paper, I mean, you just look at these guys: George Horn, Hastings, Van der Merwe, Nick Grigg had a good game last week, Sam Johnson, up against the likes of Slade and, Hogg, Noel, Simmons. Both Simmonses, yeah, man, should be a cracker. So that one's on at 4:15. I'm debating how do I plan my sleep schedule to see if I can see that one, but we will see 4:15 in the morning. Rugby Forecast algorithm has got Exeter by 8, and the bookies have got Exeter by 12, so they are kind of more than that one try favourites. So I guess we'll see if they're able to get it done. Like I said last week, they were very, very impressive indeed. So yeah, I followed them with interest. The next one, Lyon against Leinster, so it's one of the only other games alongside the Benetton Northampton one where it's a loser up against the winner. So Lyon, like I said, travelled to England last week to play Northampton and lost 25-14. They weren't really in that game a whole lot. And Leinster, as I said, had an entertaining one against Benetton, but over the course of the 80, Leinster were just a cut above, which is kind of to be expected. So yeah, this is one of the few ones where the away team is the favourite. Leinster picked to go and get a win, but I'll get to that in a second. In terms of the lineups, Lyon have made a fair few changes, and it looks like they're going with a bit of rotation, and that could be because Leinster has the extra day's rest. So Lyon played on the Sunday, Leinster played on the Saturday. But remember, well, I guess both teams have kind of got to travel because Lyon were over in England last week, but there's still a home game for Lyon. So they've brought in a new loosehead in Chioki. They've brought on their reserve hooker in Ivaldi, and Bamba's starting, so their reserves are all starting in the front row. Bruni is also starting in the second row. Root is starting in the second row, so these guys were all on the bench last week. Liam Gill moves over to the open side. Purcelli comes in on the blind side. Menu's on the right wing. Arnold's in the fullback jersey. Regard moves from the bench to 13. He had a good game last week, so whole bunch of changes. New 9, new 10, all over the shop. Pretty much total change for Lyon. I'm not sure how much of that is the rest thing, how much of it is the fact that it's Leinster coming to town. I don't know. But then again, Leinster have made a few changes as well. So Rob Carney's back at 15. That's always happy news. That means Lama moves over to the right wing. Ringrose, who was in phenomenal form last week, continues on at 13. Henshaw's up from the bench at 12. Still low at 11. 16 at 10. McGrath at 9. Healy Kelleher in the front row, 1 and 2. That was a good showing from them last week, but happily Furlong is back in his number 3 jersey, so that's a really tidy looking front row. Fardy's up from the bench into the second row, and Deegan comes in at number 8. So yeah, man, that's a bloody good looking team. Lyon are going to have their hands full, but as I said, they're at home. So you always give the home team a chance for sure. I mentioned that Leinster are the favourites. Rugby Forecast got them by 2 points, whereas the bookies have got them by 5. So it's predicted to be a relatively close one. But yeah, you'd probably back Leinster if you were putting a few bob on it, wouldn't you? Anyway, the next one, 15 minutes into the video, is Harlequins against Bath, 2 of the losers from last week. So kind of, I mean, along with Lyon, who've really got the pressure on them, probably Saracens. But again, as I said, how seriously they're taking the competition with their focus on the Premiership. Maybe Benetton, but in their pool, is it realistic? I don't know. But these teams definitely both really need a win. Harlequins shipped a whole bunch of points last week against Clermont. 53-21 was their loss. I mean, they proved they can score a few, but damn, did they let some tries in. And for Bath against Ulster, it was the kind of opposite style of game. It was only a point in it, 17-16. They lost at home. But they did pick up a losing bonus point, I guess. So if there's a bright side, it is that. But still, you would think if they want to do anything, a win would be most welcome. Here, there are a few changes to both sides. Marla comes in for Quins at the loose head. It's a whole new front row, actually, along with Levis in the second row. Lang moves into the 12 jersey. Murley moves onto the 11 jersey. Chisholm's up from the bench on 14. Campagnaro moves up from the bench on 13. So a bit of rotation going on for them as well. For Bath, Watson's in at 15. It's still Rocketaguni. Joseph is still there. McConaughey's still there. How did McConaughey go last week? I can't remember. It's been too long. Burns moves from fullback to his 10 jersey. Whole new front row replacements from the bench. Francois Lowe's back, so that's good news. Him at number 8. But yeah, a whole bunch of changes. No Underhill, no Mercer. But again, it's just that rotation thing, I guess, as the squad needs to be rested, recuperated, and make sure they don't kind of burn out. So much like that Ulster-Bath game was a close one last week, this one is predicted to be pretty close on paper. Rugby Forecast has got Quins by 1. The bookies have got Harlequins by 4. So again, within a try. The Premiership rivals, it will be an interesting one to see how it goes. You got to think whoever loses that is kind of in a big spot of bother. So, yes. The last one, and this one on paper is perhaps the match of the day, I guess. On paper, we will see Munster up against Racing 92. And these guys have got to have, I guess, a bit of optimism with the fact that Saracens are probably going to be rotating their team a fair bit for the Champions Cup. The chance that both of these guys get out the pool perhaps goes up a touch. I mean, Racing got a bonus point win over them last week, which last season, that didn't even seem conceivable. So, yeah, Racing are top of the pool. Pool 4, 30 points to 10 over Sarries, as I mentioned. Munster are second. They also got a win. It was 23 points. Wasn't it? I think I've written that wrong. Where's my Ospreys piece of paper? Third game. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I can't find it for the life of me. I know they won with a bonus point, but it was tough going. Anyway, can't find it now that I'm looking for it. That's always the way. Professional as always. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough work for Munster. So, yeah, I can't imagine them being nervous with this one, but at home there's just going to be massive expectations. The fact that Zebo's coming back to Thurman Park is going to just add that little bit of spice. I guess Donica Ryan as well. So yeah, I guess that's probably my game to watch, man. That one's on at 6:30 in the morning. There's no reason I shouldn't be watching this one. 6:30, got to be up for that one. That's going to be golden. So in terms of the lineups, kind of minimal changes for both sides. Hanrahan comes back in for Munster, so that's cool. There's no Blindell. Stunder's still there, number 8. Markini's still there. Tug Burns starts. He was on the bench last week, so that's good news. Conway was in fantastic form last week. But yeah, for the most part, it is the same side that played, and their front row was quite good last week. So I'm looking forward to see how they go against Racing. For Racing, they are starting Zebo. He was on the bench last week. Vakatawa was a danger man last week, and he's playing again. Again, Finn Russell's going to keep the game exciting. It's probably another reason that I'm looking forward to this game. I don't know what the weather forecast is like, but any game with Finn Russell starting is usually a pretty exciting one to watch. Same front row for Racing with Benarous, Shout and Gomez Sarr. Dominic Bird starts. He was on the bench last week. Palu moves to number 7. But yeah, man, it's a pretty stable looking Racing side as well. So both these sides clearly going for the kill. But that being said, Munster do have an extra day's rest, and Munster are the favourites. Bookies by 5. Algorithm Rugby Forecast by 8. So it could be a fairly close one, but yeah, I guess we see. I definitely gonna watch that one. I might be able to dual kind of screen it with this one, and then I don't know if I just watch all these games on highlights. But I don't know, how do you guys do it? There's so many games on that are on at the same time. How do you keep up, or do you just watch your own team? I don't know. Yeah, a whole bunch of games on. You guys let me know your thoughts on these ones. How do you think they will go? Any particular upsets compared to what's on there? I don't think there was once. Was there any times that the forecast, the algorithm disagreed with the bookies? I don't think so. But it's often that the margin that they've got a fair bit different. So yeah, I can't see it. Do you guys see any upsets? Surely there'll be at least one. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'm going to go rest my voice. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.